All right, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. It is May 27th. This is the CSI Secret Store community call. Just to let everyone know, those that may be new, this call is under the CNCF governance for code of conduct. So to sum it up, just be respectful to everyone. We think we got some new people. So what we like to do, if you're new to the call, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself to the community and tell us what you're interested in. That'll be helpful for us. Get to know you.
Hey, I'm Kellen McAvoy. I'm a software engineer at Electronic Arts. Just really interested in kind of some of the use cases of this project, and also a maintainer of kind of a similar project. So just thought I would, discuss some use cases here and I guess take a look at this project.
Awesome. Welcome, Kellen.
Hey, my name is Oleg. I am a software engineer at Microsoft, and I wanted to discuss a new feature request that we propose, just to get your feel on the feasibility of that.
All right. Thanks for joining, Oleg. As usual, again, if you have the doc, go ahead and just mark yourself as an attendee if you have not done so. Let's see, I don't think we have any announcements, so let's go ahead and jump right into the agenda. I will try to do double duty as a moderator notes as well.
I can help with the notes.
Okay, thanks. You've been awesome on that, so thank you. All right, so Nish is taking the notes for us. All right, let's jump into it. Kellen, let's talk about it. We have you're talking about similar project goals. Let's go ahead and discuss what you want to talk about. Go for it.
Yep. So this is kind of related to it was previously owned by or governed by GoDaddy Kubernetes external secrets, but this is essentially like a Golang rewrite using some of the kind of controller runtime and other practices. And it seems like these kind of projects have very similar goals, and so we were interested in kind of aligning, where we can. I think our main use case was around having this kind of secret provider resource, and then we have a secondary resource of an external secret that then can be deployed by, say, users in like a Helm chart. Can be packaged separately of where kind of maybe an administrator of a namespace or a cluster can manage the secret provider, and then users can use this external secret resource. And so this kind of, it seems like it has a lot of alignment with what the CSI driver and the secret store is working on. And so we have I think there's a couple issues that we've added and kind of opened up. And so we're kind of interested in kind of thoughts around that and thoughts on alignment there. So I guess in terms of a question, one thought we had was if there was any interest in kind of a separate CRD that is just like using the secret provider, and rather than, because right now it seems the main use case here is around, the CSI driver in a pod volume. But that can be a bit trickier to use for environment variables or, Docker pull secrets, of where now you need to go back to that secret provider resource.
Yeah, I think one of the most requested features. So initially we added the pod mount, and then that was the primary purpose of the CSI driver, right? And it was rightfully called CSI driver because of that. And then like one of the most requested feature was sync is Kubernetes secret. And that's usually because of workloads that use ingress, right? Like I think the most common use case that we've seen with our CSI driver is usage with ingress controllers, so that the certificates are pulled from our external secret store, and then they're also synced as Kubernetes secret. And then we also handle the lifetime of it in terms of auto rotation. And then environment variable, in terms of usage, we have seen it growing gradually. And then I think a couple of users did open an issue on the CSI driver repo requesting for this feature, where they wanted to separate the pod mount from the syncing as Kubernetes secret. I think as a CSI driver community, as a project community, we have been thinking about it. I mean, as separating the two, maybe providing an option to sync as Kubernetes secret without relying on the mount. But we have not really gone into the design. Like we haven't deeply gone into the design. Looking over the top, it feels like if you have to support it, it's more like looking at the secret provider class, which is the source of truth for everything, and then basically having watches on it, and then on create events, instead of relying on the pod mount, we basically just go call the provider, get the content, and then sync it as Kubernetes secret. And we can do that because we have moved away from using binaries for providers, and instead we've started using gRPC. So that gives us the flexibility to do it. But I think the question is, if we do that, then it is no longer a CSI driver. Like it's a totally different thing, but it's an optional feature. So I think like, how do we handle that? And then how do we support it without running it as a daemon set is something that we have been thinking about. I think this is where maybe we can see if we can do something with the external secrets project, right? Like maybe there is a way where we could use the same secret provider class and maybe support syncing as Kubernetes secret and environment variables. That way users can use one of the two with just a single custom resource instead of having multiple custom resources that they have to handle.
Yeah, aligning on that secret provider seems like an interesting idea there. Yeah.
Any other thoughts from anyone else? I guess, Kellen, what's your ultimate goal here? Is to see a consolidated project and then this being a certain use case within using the secrets provider class?
Yeah, I think the consolidated project was part of it because I think some of the users of the other external secrets kind of operator also have the CSI driver use case of where they have some secrets they don't want to store as Kubernetes secrets. And so today to do that, then you have to use both external secrets operator and the CSI driver for those kind of two types of secrets.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, aligning on the secret provider seems kind of makes sense, at least for kind of the first action there.
I have a quick question. So in order to read the secrets from AWS Secrets Manager and the Azure Key Vault, do you need to configure like some AWS credential to the external secrets pod?
Yeah, so there's a couple different options of you either use like pod identity if you're installing the external secrets operator of like, using IRSA or similar for other cloud providers, or in the secret provider resource for the external secrets project, you can configure like a secret reference of like there's IAM credentials and IAM role in this secret. So there's both options.
Yeah, but if that one, for example, if you directly configure IAM credential, IAM like a secrets to external secrets pod, once this one got bragged, like you literally can read all the secrets from AWS Secrets Manager and Azure Key Vault, right?
Yeah, yes, the secret store has whatever are the permissions granted to it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think just to add something here really quick, like the demo that I'll show later might scope that down a little bit with the token request feature that is going in. So you can basically scope a pod to only get credentials or only get things that its service account or whatever credentials its service account can exchange for can do. But yes, you're correct there.
Okay, good stuff. What's the plan going forward here? Do we need some of the maintainers kind of go a little deep on this project and kind of understand where the integration points may be?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. We can probably get started on a doc. So the maintainers from CSI and also external secrets can take a look at each other's project, try it out, and then maybe collaborate on a common doc. And then if we can get that, then maybe we can review it before the next community call.
Okay, great. All right. Before moving on, any other comments or concerns or anything else? Okay. Excuse me. All right. So next up, we have Oleg. He wants to discuss new feature requests.
Please.
Let me go ahead and get that open for you. Okay, floor is yours, Oleg.
Okay. So I don't know, have any one of maintainers actually seen this yet? I only submitted it 2 days ago. I guess not, right? Okay. So I will just summarize it. And we have already discussed it internally with Microsoft side of CSI maintainers, Phil and Anish and Rita. And we just want to get the whole community perspective on that. How do we go about implementing that? So what currently happens is that if specified secrets do not exist in Key Vault, and I only verify this with Azure Key Vault, that's what our primary interest in. So the volume mount fails and the container start fails, right? And there is a warning in the pod description, secret not found. So clearly you get a clear 404 distinction, what exactly happens for which secret. Right? So what we want to ask is that to have an optional parameter saying that do not fail the volume mount if secret is not found. Basically similar to what you say in what you can say in Kubernetes configuration for mapping secrets to environment variables. You can say optional true, and it will not fail mapping. So in that case, user will be able to say that if secret is not found, just continue mounting all other secrets. Leave it to my application to deal with empty or missed secrets at runtime. And ideally, we want to expose a status condition about those secrets that are not found somewhere either in secret provider class itself, status conditions of it, or in that separate custom resource secret provider class pod status. So actually the user or the app or even a custom controller that interacts with SPC can react to those missed secrets. So I listed 3 options that I can see what actually CSI driver can do about, in this case, when the secrets are missed, right? So we can put an empty value and the status. Can put some user-defined value, basically default. User can say, it's another parameter, of course, but user can say, I want to have some default value instead of missed secret. And maybe not create a file or mount. Not sure if that's possible. And then I just outlined the scenarios why exactly this is helpful in our case. So I'm going to pause here. Maybe there are some questions, and then if you want, I can outline those specific scenarios.
Yeah, I'm generally supportive of this. And just that it be opt-in behavior, just for the difficulty of debugging. Like I think the fast fail kind of helps people find out, oh, I didn't have the permission right, or oh, I didn't get the name right. But that, yeah, for more advanced use cases, being able to kind of skip over a secret that's not there and have it become available later in the pod's life cycle is probably useful from like a reliability standpoint of, like you don't necessarily want to block the starting of your application for something that may only affect, like 10% of requests to it, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, I haven't dug much into kind of like whether or not it's a pod feature or a driver feature, a plugin feature, that sort of stuff yet. But yeah, I agree it's a valuable enhancement.
That's great. That's great to hear. Any other thoughts, questions?
No, I think just to add, the way the secret will get refreshed is based on the rotation reconciler. Right now we have it set at 2 minutes. I think the only thing is it depends on what external secret store recommend. Because I had a conversation with the Key Vault team internally, and one of their recommendation was 2 minutes is rather too aggressive, and they would have like to have something like 4 hours because rotation is not a common scenario. So I think we just need to factor that time interval when we decide to implement this feature. Like, would increasing that time have any impact on the workload getting the secret, or is there a way maybe the pod would restart if it needs it within a shorter time?
Could be time of refreshing configurable in config pod?
Right?
Because different store have different requirements. So if you guys allow to configure time of refreshing and reconciliation, it would be great.
Yeah, so the interval is already configurable today. The default is set to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we might have an issue about that where it's a flag, so it applies to the entire driver, the interval, so like all secret store, secret provider classes and mounts. But I think in kind of like the demo that's coming up, I believe there's also a mechanism on the CSI side for remounts, I think.
Yeah, republish, but I think that also depends on 121. So Kubernetes
Right.
121.
Yeah, but that eventually, I think that might be configurable just out of the box using per mount, which is a little bit more granular than per driver.
So Tommy, you're saying that even if we have this new parameter, it will apply to all the secret provider classes registered, right? Because you set on the driver level, not on the SBC level?
The refresh interval is set on the driver level currently. So that 2-minute configuration is configured at the driver, so it applies to every mount that the driver handles.
Okay, I missed that part. Got it. But for the potentially new parameter that says best effort, right, enabled, can it be set on per secret object or on the entire SPC, or it's for the entire driver?
Currently, like the issue you created with our current schemas, I believe that it would, at the driver level, be easy to make it per mount. Sorry, at the secret provider class level. If you want it implemented in the driver and to apply automatically to all providers, there is a path to do that per mount. If you want per secret, then I think it really needs to go into the providers currently, because the driver doesn't really have the same knowledge of which secrets at the start of a mount operation to know like per secret configuration. I think basically any per secret configuration has to be implemented by the providers currently. Does that sound right, Anish? Just to make sure I'm not.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I had a brief chat with Tommy yesterday, but like I think at least if we want to add this, initially we want to do it at the driver level so that each provider doesn't have a different way of doing it. Because if we do provide it at a secret level, then each provider would have a different flag for configuration, which can be difficult for users. So I think a good starting point would be to have it on the secret provider class for the driver level so that we can still make sure that the driver validation and how for the code path works. And then also we impose how providers handle some of these scenarios. Because the sync Kubernetes secret and rotation depends on the gRPC response from the providers. So having it at the driver we would be able to harden that interface to make sure that the providers comply with it, and then driver can handle the different scenarios.
It did sound like that there was, yeah, like I think the way many of the providers are written currently is if there are any errors, it returns an error response to the driver. So getting like, you know, like 1 of 4 secrets to actually mount, like it seems like in the issue as you're describing it, you might want partial secrets rather than just like, oh, there was a partial failure in the mount, the pod can still turn off. There might be some difficulties there, just with that like I don't believe any of the providers currently will return partial responses to the driver. So it may be like, yes, there was a problem doing this mount, but the pod will still turn off. I think it's probably more complicated to get the drivers to say there was a problem in this mount, but some of those secrets are available. Here's what they were.
Yeah, I think if we still rely on the mount for the sync Kubernetes secret, like one option is once providers move to driver writing the file, if this optional feature flag is set, then the providers would just send an empty data field for those particular secret files, right? And then the driver would have everything without any error. It'll just go write whatever it is. So I think what Oleg had pointed out initially, like having an empty file or maybe a default value, like that would just work. So that from the driver perspective, it still thinks all the files provided by given by the provider is enough, and then it'll just go write that. And then the sync path, which relies on the mounted files, will just read those and sync that as Kubernetes secret as well.
Okay, so it'll, the thing you're like we're proposing or designing here is kind of like a new field on the mount request to the providers. Okay.
One other thing actually I want to mention here is with the sync period and all, we probably also want to think about the throttling on the provider sides. I mean, two things can happen here, like as we were discussing, right? Like, I mean, if we are setting our sync period maybe too short or something like that, we could end up throttling the providers. Or the second scenario I could think of is like if the workloads that are being run on are using this thing, right? If these pods are like too short-lived, then every time they come up and if they try to get the secrets, then also it can get throttled depending upon the provider's specification. So, and that is probably beyond our control. So maybe something to think about.
Sure, that makes sense to me. All right, Anish, Tommy, so what I hear it's feasible, right? There are options how to implement it. We have fairly short timelines when we need this. How do we go about designing this thing and implementation?
Yeah, I guess we would need a proposal. So, I was just trying to calculate all the feedback. So are we at least in an initial agreement that this needs to happen at the driver level? Was that what I heard? initially? Is that the initial agreement?
I think it would probably be nicer at the driver level.
Okay.
And I think the way we've done these in the past is just like a concrete like proposal doc that we review, and then just review the implementation.
So tell me, by proposal doc, you mean actual design?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not familiar with the code base of provider or driver. Is there any way to get some help on that?
Let's see, do we not have any good docs on that? Should probably have an issue about that too.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead. Go for it, Anish.
Go for it.
No, I was going to say, yeah, let's see what we could come up with as far as documentation, and then Oleg, we can work offline with you and helping get that proposal doc going.
Okay, thanks, Phil. That sounds good.
Yeah, if you're not on the Slack channel on the Kubernetes Slack, it'd be great if you could join so that we can work on the Slack channel. So if you have any questions, all the project collaborators can help answer, and then that will be a more community-led effort.
Oh, and I think on timelines, we've started moving to monthly releases. Right, and I think this was something discussed in the last meeting, that we're trying to move to a monthly release. And there is an issue open for like our versioning plans. But yeah, so I'm not sure what your timeline is, but be aware of that. And
so monthly, when is the next?
I think we were going with the.
So I think, yeah, tentatively, I think the last release was 10 days back. So if we say another 20, the next one will be third week of June.
I think the proposal is to do the second Wednesday of each month is the current proposal.
Okay.
Second Wednesday. Okay, yeah, after the patch Tuesdays, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can start with the design, and then we can decide which milestone it'll go to. I don't think it'll go into the 0.023 milestone, but we can see based on where the design is and how quickly we can implement it.
Okay, so Anish, I'll work with you, I guess, to start on design.
Okay, so next steps, yeah, Oleg, we'll work with you on design. Again, as Anish mentioned, join the Slack channel. A lot of async activities can happen there.
Yeah.
And then I guess, you know, again, this is a bi-weekly call. Let's see if, you know, let's shoot for trying to, I guess, get a draft of the proposal, and then maybe we can share that with the community in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. I'll get a feel of what exactly that entails, and then if we want to go this route, sure, that's a good goal.
All right. Any other comments, questions, concerns about the proposal? Okay, we'll move on to our next topic. Micah, you got a demo for us. Let me go ahead and bump you up to host, and then you can go ahead and share your screen and take us through this demo.
All right, I had to redo it, and I have give me like 20 seconds, and I'll have it working.
Okay. Okay, no worries. Okay, so we're just waiting on you. Okay, while Micah gets that set up, any other discussions anyone wants to discuss what we got? Some time. All right, silence is no.
I think
Go for it.
Nilek has opened a pull request for the release doc. So I think Tommy has reviewed it. It'll be great if other members can also review it and add comments to it.
Which one is that?
555 release management.
Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah. So if everyone could take a look at the PR here, that'll be helpful.
Hey, there is one other thing that other pair that I opened about debugging. I'm not sure how in general, other contributors are doing it, but I found it helpful to sort of have the live debug feature. So something I've added the steps and docs for that as well. So, if everybody can look at it and have a feedback on that, it would be great.
That's part of the same PR, Nilek?
It's a different PR. Yeah.
Okay. Which issue is that?
It's a PR 556.
Yeah. I don't believe we have a issue or some for that, but it's just something I found when I started on this
you got
project.
a PR. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
I thought it would be helpful for others as well.
Okay, I'll just toss that in the chat so everyone can quickly access that. Take a look. All right, thank you, Nilek. No pressure, Micah, but just whenever you're ready, just go for it.
I think I broke a caching. I'm relying. I changed the certificate.
Murphy shows up, right?
I changed the certificate, and the cache certificate is cached in an AWS system that I need it to not cache. So in probably about 10 minutes, it'll work, independent of my demo. But I can show what I have.
Let's do this. We're now starting to get into looking at some of the latest issues. So if you want, we can just kind of crawl the issue list and just
that sounds great.
Talk with everyone, and then again, you just let us know when you're ready.
Yep, I had it working 20 minutes ago, and then of course I broke it. So yeah, that's fine. I'll drop in when it's ready.
Okay. Anything significant on the issues list anyone wants to chime in on?
So I think there are a couple of breaking changes that we're going to be making. For folks on the community call, for the next release, one change is we're going to disable the RBAC roles for sync as Kubernetes secret by default, because we want to keep it secure out of the box. So just following on the practice of least privileges, we are going to set the flag to false by default in the Helm charts. So for users who are using the CSI driver to sync as Kubernetes secret, in addition to mount, they would need to explicitly set it to true when they do a Helm upgrade from next time. So we'll add that to the release notes as well. And then the 550 issue, after 0.0.23 release, the next release could be on v0.1.0 or 0.0.24. That release, we are going to set filtered watch secret to true. So what this does is, if you're using node publish secret reference, so I think it's more commonly used in the Azure provider for providing the service principal credentials. So if you're using node publish secret reference, then setting this to true means that secret has to be labeled with a specific label, which we have added in the documentation for the load test. And the reason we're going to default this to true is so that by default, the driver consumes less memory out of the box. But these two are breaking changes that we're going to be introducing. It'll be documented in the release notes, and then also the actions to take depending on what feature they're consuming.
All right, thanks, Anish. Anyone else want to highlight any issue on the list that they may be connected to?
If no one has anything else, I have a PR to promote Tommy to approval. He's been doing a great job as a reviewer, and he's been reviewing every PR and contributing a lot to the driver. So I think it's time. So if everyone wants to look at it and then +1, that'll be great. We are hoping to merge that PR this week so that all of us can bug Tommy to merge pull requests.
All right, you got my +1 on that. Tommy, you've been doing great work for us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, while we are in the PRs, and I'm still tap dancing for you, Micah, any other PRs that we want to put some signal on that we need the community to take a look at?
Okay, I got it working.
Oh, you working? Okay. Let's just finish out with the PR. Any PRs anyone needs some eyes on, etc.?
The demo Mika is showing is, I think, 471. So I've added that to 0023 milestone. So we should take a look after this to review it and comment on it.
Okay. Throw that in the chat. And with that, Micah, yeah, you should be a co-host. I'll go ahead, stop my share, and feel free to take it away.
Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks. I'll clear my screen so that it's more dramatic. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Do I need to rejoin? It's saying host disabled participant screen sharing when I try to share.
Okay, 1 second. Let me double check.
I see Phil and Dane are co-hosts.
Oh, I might have hit the wrong person. Okay, hold on 1 second. I think I. Okay, there you go.
Right,
You're right.
there we go.
I accidentally.
You're good.
Okay.
Share. Oh, system preferences. Need to allow Zoom. 1 second. Sorry. And I'm going to need to quit to be able to do that. Let me join right back. 1 second.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Mac is making me Mac OS is making me quit Zoom. 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, well, Micah reboots. Just want to put it out there. Are we planning on anything to showcase for KubeCon North America later this year? Anyone has any things that they think they want to showcase since Anish and Tommy did that awesome session at the last EU?
And we're back.
That was quick.
Yep. Now you can make me host again.
All right.
It should work.
Okay, you should be good to go.
And that's going to work now. All right. You see that? It's my terminal.
Looks like you're broadcasting. Go for it.
Okay, great. So what I did was I just what you see in PR 471 is what's going on here. I just had a few modifications. So I needed to add like the token request field to the CSI driver. So I just specified like the audience and some expiration. And I just used my own custom image in the deployment, but in the daemon set. So if I get pods, all names, spaces, you'll see I've got, I just created a COPS cluster using the EKS distro. I've got the CSI secret store driver here with my custom, which is with the code in that PR. And then I have this, I created this is more just kind of a proof of concept prototype driver. I'm playing around with basically getting AWS credentials to pods. So basically similar to how, if you're familiar with AWS IAM roles for service accounts, exchanging the pods token request token for AWS credentials. But right now that's baked into the SDKs. But if any change to that procedure requires updating all the AWS SDKs and then having every application that needs, that uses that to have an updated SDK. So I'm experimenting around with, okay, how can I do this exchange of getting a service account token, giving it to a pod without necessarily needing to do that in an AWS SDK that needs to be baked into a bunch of applications. So secret store driver is really nice for constraining down. Well, I want to get some credential and mount it into a pod, but I don't necessarily want to write a whole CSI driver for that. I really like how the mount RPC just says, here's what I got from CSI. You don't need to implement all the CSI driver methods. And here's the token based on my PR that Kubelet gave me back bytes that I can mount into the volume. So this little provider basically takes the request from the pod or from the driver, gets the token, and then calls, for now, just assume role with web identity. So it's just like a 1-for-1 instead of doing it in an application inside a pod. Uses the AWS API to say, here's a JOT, give me back AWS creds. So what I have is so I've got just the provider class, and it's just a really simple configuration right now, just for this prototype, but just to say, okay, for this Kubernetes service account in a certain namespace, assume this AWS IAM role. And then on the provider side, it's pretty standard service account. Like the provider has just very minimal permissions, unlike say the current AWS secrets manager provider, where it uses the provider's identity to call secret manager. The only Kubernetes permissions I need are right now are token review and then just listening and watching pods. The token review is when it gets the token, I call token review just to validate that, okay, this is a valid token. I'm not getting, fooled by someone. I'm not trying to submit a bad token to AWS or anything. I'm doing a little bit of caching. So I also want to validate that this token is correct and I'm not giving you something out of the cache that was correct for an invalid token. And then I'm just listing pods so that I have, for this internal cache, I can clean up the cache automatically. So that's the only Kubernetes permissions I have. And I'm not actually even giving this provider any AWS permission. It's just doing some exchanges. So it's really simple. It just, like a normal provider is dropping its socket in the provider's directory, and it gets the node name. Just I pass in the node name just again for caching, so I can, when I watch pods in the Kube API server, I can scope it down to just pods on my node because I don't need to cache anything from other nodes. And I can show, so what I have, I don't have, okay, so I don't have any pods yet. The pod that I'm going to launch really quick is just really simple, just an Nginx pod, just for demonstration's sake. But what I've done is said, okay, this pod is using that default service account that I specified in this provider in the default namespace. So service account name is not even set here, but it's just default. And I'm selecting my AWS credential driver and I'm mounting that to root.aws. So my driver is going to exchange that token, write the credentials file, and return it back to the CSI driver. So if we launch this pod, next, have pod running. So if I'll just exec into it really quick, just to proof of concept, show this example. So I've set the AWS credentials file. I could install that AWS, actually, might as well. What's it? Pi3 pip. AWS CLI. So I'll just install the AWS client. And because I set that environment variable, the AWS credentials file, that'll tell the AWS SDKs, or in this case, the CLI, look at this file for your Amazon AWS credentials. So the AWS CS get caller identity. It should get that role. So it was able to read the credentials from disk, call AWS, and get caller identity is basically who am I API in AWS. And I'll just head and I guess there's a session token. So I just need to show the first 3 lines in this file, and that's not, you won't be able to steal my creds. Where's that AWS credentials file? Because it's a symlink. Yeah, there. So you can see access key, secret key, not exposing the token. So anyone watching this recording can't steal my creds. But it's a cool little demo. It's, again, this is mostly just like, I'm doing just some prototyping. And so like, I'll probably put this on GitHub in like a samples repo. But I'm playing around with kind of credential management or getting credentials to pods and trying to make it a little bit easier than all the setup required for IAM roles for service accounts today. There's a lot of setup required going to create an OIDC identity provider in AWS, then creating the role, then referencing the IDP and the service account and everything. So this is just kind of a step 1 in that prototyping, but I really like secret store provider and just wanted to show that PR that I have open kind of being used and kind of what it could be used for. In one example, you can see a lot of other examples where that could be used to do things like in the AWS secret manager case, like get credentials for that pod or do some other, AWS-y things in this case, or for other providers to, like for GKE, do workload identity and do something else. So that's my demo.
Awesome. That was some cool stuff there. Thank you, Micah, for that.
I had one quick question. So when you were trying this out, the requires republish. Do you know how frequently the node publish volume is called?
I believe it's like, I think Kubelet will, based on the token lifetime, it's like 70% of the token lifetime. Right. So I haven't like tested the republish yet. I just tested it. It's just very, very much prototype proof of concept level at this point. I haven't like checked to see if that gets republished yet. But it's pretty cool that everything pipes down and works this way. I was pretty excited when initially upstream the feature launch was added to Kubernetes, and like I've been awaiting this day for 6 months now. So it's very fun to see it in action.
That was a great demo.
All right, cool. Yeah, we had a pretty good session today. I think we went through everything. We kind of highlight the issues, the PRs. I think everyone's in sync with that. We got some tasks going forward here with Oleg. Is there anything else anyone wants to discuss before we go ahead and end the call? Okay, I'll take silence. There's no. All right, so our next meeting will be June the 10th, in the next couple of weeks. So we look forward to seeing you there. And hopefully everyone gets a chance to recharge the batteries, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you take your Friday off as well. With that, we'll go ahead and end the meeting, and we'll see everyone in the next couple of weeks. Thank you all.